Before we begin, I want to wish a refuah shlema to David Farid Chaim ben Aziza Dina. Should have a refuah shlema mehira. To Rabbi and Chazak, thank you for organizing this and always being available for Klal Yisrael wherever it is, wherever they need. And the Chazak is an organization doing so many amazing good things. The Sharei Emunah, a shul that is near and dear to my heart, especially the heart of my parents and my father, who's a mother, are here today, and a shul that has made a stake in our community that stands for so much good, so much Torah, so much tradition, and so much chizuk. So I appreciate it. So I want to share with you a little bit of how this started, and it's going to be a little different than you may be used to. This is a little bit more of a walk through the Haggadah. If anybody wants a Haggadah, we have sitters here. It's page 100. It could be helpful if you're going through it. Just make sure you don't put any chametz on it. But it could be helpful as we're going through it, because the goal here is very, very specific. This is not what would maybe a typical class and with Hashem's help, taking an idea and trying to break it open. This is a different game. The hope here is we're going to have to take a walk through what is, I think, one of the most interesting moments of the year. And I'll tell you where this started from. And we can hopefully, jump in together. And if you have to go in the middle, I understand. And it's going to be a little bit of time that we're going to spend here together tonight. So, of course, Zichron Naftali, before we begin, is an organization that we're very close to. There's an enormous amount of good. If you have the time, especially now for Pesach, if you can go to the site and participate, I'd really appreciate it. If you go on the site, we're actually going to we'll take the notes from tonight and put it on the site as well. So if you go to zichronaftali.org, you'll have a pop-up. You can put your name and we'll send you the notes. And also, we have on that as well, we do certain times, there's certain particular, I believe the others have asked for certain tefillot. So it's an opportunity if you want to be involved in that and say, listen, I have a few minutes I can give to daven for somebody else. When you organize certain tefillot, we'll get your name as well. So if you go to zichronaftali.org, you'll get a lot here and then hopefully a lot more. So this began really in a conversation I had with Rabbi Levi a couple weeks ago, when he said to me that you have to understand what's happening on the Seder night. And if you go into the Sifrei Chasidus, you'll see this as well. By definitely the Sifrei, also by the Svardim, you see this as well in the world of Pnimiut. But he said it, the way he said it, it really shook me. He said that you have to understand that on the night of Pesach, the amount of R, I can't see this, I'm not holy enough, but on the amount of R that comes into the world on Pesach night is unbelievable. There's no night like that for their whole year. I saw a long time ago when someone said they said something like Halayla Hazeh, but the idea is that Pesach Seder, he was explaining, has so much light, has so much R. And when you have R, it penetrates into the darkness, the spiritual darkness, and it fixes. If a person is dirty and they go and they put water into the water cleans out the dirt. So in my head, the way I understand it is, if you go into a period of time in which spiritual darkness is what causes our problems, our separation from Hashem is spiritual darkness. The tsaros that we have many times in this world is just a manifestation of spiritual darkness. If you have a night that has so much or, so much light, the amount that it could do for your life is unbelievable. That's what he was explaining to me. And he said that if you go through a Seder night properly, we as a nation may not achieve what's called national geula. We may not see Mashiach. But geula is not a binary thing. It's not either it comes or it doesn't come. Geula is also personal. If somebody is struggling in work, if somebody is struggling in a relationship, somebody is struggling with maybe a child, when you're struggling in life, many times what you want is a geula. Ga'al Yisrael and Shemona Esrei is on the personal side. If you go through the brachas of Shemona Esrei, when you get into the world of Go'el Yisrael, when you go look at that word, it's not on the national side, the group side. It's not by Tekal Shofar. It's beforehand, because it's a concept of personal geula. And a person goes through the Seder, and if you go through the Seder, you can accomplish from a Seder for you, your family, and your loved ones, a personal geula. It's available. Or you could not. And at least the way I understand it, the way I see the world is through certain prisms. One of the prisms I see the world is through coffee. That happens to be one of my biggest loves, and I get very nervous if there's no coffee, which is why I have it here just in case. And when you fly, when you go places and you fly, one of my fears when I fly is I will be in someone else's care and there may not be coffee. And I think about that, because it's what happens when you're obsessed with coffee. So I have to plan what happens if I'm on a plane, and there's like a half an hour, I'm sitting on a runway, the service isn't playing, what am I going to do for an hour on the runway without coffee? So I take a thermos with me. And I fill it up in the club or wherever I get. I have hot water. I bring my own packets, just in case I have to rely on the stewardess to give me coffee. I can't put myself in her hands. So I was one time going to the club, getting ready to go on a long flight, and I remember going to my bag, and I stick my hand in my bag, and I pull out, no cup, no thermos. I'm like, what? And I remember I left it on the kitchen counter. So I had to go to the club. I had to survive with a little hot cup. And I remember seeing that they had so much hot water. It was unbelievable. It was bar chava. Hot water, forget about it. But I only walked out with one cup. You know how long it lasted me? It was just, I was done by the time I got onto the plane. And it dawned on me, and what the rabbi explained to me, and this is what we're going to talk about tonight. It's plenty of R. The question is, are we going to be a kli? There's plenty of R. Leil Seder is plenty of R. There's more R on Leil Seder for you and your family, your grandkids, your friends. There's enough R for Geula. Hashem is saying, I have enough R coming into the world. I'm bringing Eliyahu Hanavi to your house. I'm in the bris. Eliyahu Hanavi's coming. It's a massive. You can either walk out of the Seder with a tiny little shot glass of R for your year, or you can walk out of the Seder with a massive tub of R. The question we have to ask ourselves is, and what we're doing tonight, is with Hashem's help trying to become a kli, a vessel within which the or can rest. And what Chazal has given us to help us do that is the Seder. Now, before we jump into it, I just want to explain why we're going to, again, stay as long as you want, whether online or here. It's going to take a little bit of time. I'm not running. It's okay if you have to go. The goal for tonight is to, if we can together understand what is taking place on that Seder. And the reason is because if you think about it, and this is what the Chazal say, the rabbi said, and what Chazal say is if there's a machlokus in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah between when the world was created, and in the Gemara there's a machlokus between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer about whether the world was created in Tishrei or in Nisan. And Tosfos there says, Elu ve'elu, they're both right. One was created Lamaisa, which was Nisan, and on Tishrei, Alav Machshava, it came into Hashem's mind to create the world, and everyone talks what that means, and I saw in the name of the Arizal, what it means is that on Tishrei, he created the spiritual world. That's why all of our Yontif is Tishrei, because we care about the soul. So there, even though the Gemara says that the world was created on Nisan, we hold by Tishrei in all the Rosh Hashanah because we say, really, the beginning of the world is not the physical world. The beginning of the world is the spiritual world. The din is on spirituality. The din, it's going to manifest into physical. But that's why we go crazy in Tishrei. But it doesn't mean we have to forget about Nisan. But we're done with Tishrei. We get to Nisan, we forget the Gemara. In Nisan, the world was created physically. It's still a creation of the world. There's still a massive thing happening right now. Okay, it's not the Tishrei creation. If you look at what's taking place in Seder, the way you would look at Tishrei, the game changes. Because no one rolls into Yom Kippur with like, oh my gosh, what's everyone doing? Why is everybody in white? It's just Ma'ariv. Wait, it's not just Ma'ariv? Like, what are you talking about? Oh, we have to fast? I should have prepared, I should have ate something. Kaparas? What are you talking about? Slichas? Because when Yom Kippur rolls in, you're ready to roll. But you go to a Seder, myself included, and guys roll in like, hey, where's my Haggadah? Like, what's going on? Oh, you're here. What's going on? How you doing? No clue. For Yom Kippur, a guy rolls in, no clue. No clue. You have your whole year lying on. No clue about the din in 25 hours. You're thinking of Ne'ilah when you first walk in. You're pacing yourself. You've eaten. You've thought about it. You've said forgiveness. You've gone through slichas. You've gone through all these hachanas to get to Yom Kippur because you know that you can't leave Yom Kippur with nothing in your hands. You can leave Yom Kippur and just put everything on the table like it's a regular day. You see, myself included, you see Seders, it's like a regular Yontif meal. Guys roll in like whatever. And then you get there. And while you're there, it's a Yontif meal with a lot of stuff to say before you get to eat. And that's what it comes down to. No prep, no thought. So the rabbi told me, he said, listen, you know why 30 days you have to start learning Hilchos Pesach? Because the R starts to seep in. It starts seeping in all the way in. By the time you get to the Seder, there's so much R that you can have. The question is, did you become a kli? But when we go through this right now, if you don't have the mindset right now of, I'm walking into a physical Yom Kippur, it's not a spiritual Yom Kippur. It's not a Yom Kippur in which I'm going to retract from the world and get the R that's available from my retreating. There's R of Yom Kippur, And the Or of Yom Kippur comes when you pull away. Okay, it's an avodah. And it's a real avodah. And we work hard on it. And we're standing all day. And we're davening all day. And we're fasting all day. But we know there's something going on. So people are geared up for it. If you walk into Seder, if we walk into the Seder without the same mentality, I got a week. And in my 1 week, I'm going to stand in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Sfarim say the Malachim are standing by Leil Seder and they're watching. Your house, the Malachim are, the Eibishter brings the whole world. Look what's going on to my kid. How many kids are doing Seder? 100,000? 500,000? There's 7 billion people in the world. How many people are having Seder night? You get to be one of those people? The Pamalei Shemalas are watching you. And inside is looking, and the world around us is on fire. We're saying Hallel at night. We're not even saying Krishma. Leil Shemurim, the rabbi said, there's no mazikim. Everything is open, and you come into our home, and if we roll into the house as if it's like a yontif meal plus a siddur of things to say, we expect our. We have to understand that from now until Kadesh and Urchatz, we got to walk in ready. Kli. This is once a year. You get to be a Kli without fasting. You get to be a Kli with eating. We don't want to walk in and be a hot cup. You want to walk in and you want to be a tub. So you can have R that you get the entire year long. That is the backdrop of what we're going to do tonight. And the goal for tonight, again, stay as long as you can. Feel free to come and go as you want. You want to put your head down and sleep, whatever. It's all good. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to, with Hashem's help, we're going to go through the Haggadah. Because the Haggadah could be one of the most misunderstood nights of the year. The script that Chazal has put in front of us is so brilliant and so misunderstood. So misunderstood that you can go through the Haggadah and you can roll with it, and you come to say some Seders, and by the time you're done, you got 4 kids sleeping on the couch, and 2 kids went quickly to the bench by themselves, and everyone's like, limping out, and they walk out, they go, that was amazing, thank God, one more and I'm done, and by tomorrow night there's like a relief. You don't got to do Seders anymore, you have to come home and eat like a normal person, it's going to be Shabbos, you don't have to say anything from Kiddush until finally eating, and that inside feeling of like it's over, this was a burden, is totally the wrong way. It's the inside feeling you get from Yom Kippur as well, unless you do it properly. So if we go through it, hopefully we'll see the themes. We're going to see what's really happening, what we're trying to accomplish. And if we go through that here, hopefully when you get to your Seder, if you're leading a Seder, we've got a lot to talk about. Even if you're not leading a Seder, if you're at a Seder and the Seder goes off the rails, at least you don't lose the year and you don't lose the R. Hopefully we'll have something that we can hold on to. And by the way, the goal here is take what you want. I'm going to try to go through it slowly. Take whatever you want with it. This works, that works, we'll go through it together, okay? Good luck. I hope you're with me. And I hope by the time I'm done, there's anyone left in the room. Okay, let's begin with one question. The ultimate question we have to ask ourselves is the obvious question, which is the story of the Seder is a very obvious story. If me and you, let's begin by understanding the design. If we in this room, what happens if right now the rabbi gets a phone call? It's Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, listen to me. Rabbi, I know you got a holy congregation. We just came out of Egypt. Hashem commanded us to have a holiday. I need something that we can do. I need a script. I need a storyline. Can you help me design what the holidays are? All I know is got to be, we have to recreate the moment where we were together in Egypt. And in Egypt, they sat together before they left, and they had a matzah sumorim yochlu beheseba, and they sat together before they left. It's got to be that. You just figure out the program. If we were doing that right now, while I'm speaking, think to yourself, what would the program be? What would you design if you were sitting around and saying, I have to figure out how to get this out to my people? What do I do? The answer is it's almost so easy, it's almost too easy. If me and you had to figure out the program for the night of the Seder, what we would pretty much do, I would think, is we would say, this is great. This isn't a medrash. This isn't the story of Avram walking to the Chibshon HaEsh. This isn't a story that we hear by the Gemara. Thank you. This is in the Torah. This is Mefurish in Torah Shebechsav. We have Parshios. It starts off in Shemos. He doesn't know Yosef. It goes all the way down to detail. We have all the Makkos. We have the back and forth. We have who's going, who's not going. We have the Yam Suf.
All you have to do to make this awesome is you sit down, put food out on the table, we're Jews, and just open up Shmos. You can cut and paste a little bit, it gets to be a lot. That's a lot of parshas. Cut and paste 4 or 5 parshas and roll through it. It's dramatic, Hollywood likes it, every animator likes it. How many times have you heard these stories before? It's a dramatic scene. What would you not do? The Haggadah. We're in Bnei Brak, and then we're here, and then we're there, and Yachum Rosh Chodesh, and we have 4 sons, and who are these 4 sons? And we got Manishtara, and then we start the thing, and we go here, and we go left, and we go right. If you look at the story of the Haggadah, you look at it, you're like, I wouldn't say any of that stuff. There's so many starts and stops, there's so many pump fakes throughout the whole time. We're going to start, we're not going to start. If you look at what happens in the Haggadah, it doesn't line with what would be the most obvious way that we would teach the story of the Seder, which would be the actual way Hashem told it to us in the Torah. And the reason I believe is because you have to understand the difference between a story and a narrative. What is the difference between a story and a narrative? So Rav Noach Weinberg has a great Torah on great speakers. Rav Noach Weinberg tells over, he goes, one of the greatest, most effective speakers of all time is a man named Natan Hanavi. Who was Natan Hanavi? I'm going to go back and forth. Just in my head. Who was Natan Hanavi? We have equal opportunity on both sides of my family. Who was Natan Hanavi? Natan Hanavi. So if you remember the story of David and Bathsheba and Uriah Hittite, the Gemara is very clear. David didn't do anything wrong. It's all Kadesh and Urchatz. We're not talking about that. But at some point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that Hashem was that David had to be told that what happened with Uriah Hittite was not 100% appropriate at David's level. So he went to the Navi at the time and he said, go tell David. So you're the Navi, you're going to tell Melech HaMashiach, you're going to tell David HaMelech, who, by the way, if you look at the Gemaras, he was technically still right. He did the wrong thing. One thing you don't want to happen is you don't have to be defensive. You don't have to say you're wrong. He's David. You have to make sure that he's going to say you're right. You have to do this delicately. So what does he do? Remember the story? The story in Navi. The story is that he goes over and he tells him the following story. He says there was 2 guys. One guy was very wealthy, he had a flock of sheep. And one guy was very poor and he had one little shepsel, one little cute little lamb. And the lamb was like a daughter. Slept in the bed, ate from his hands, went to the table, and he loved this little lamb like he loved one of his kids. Well, the rich guy wanted to make a party. And the rich guy says, I need to feed my people. So what does he do? As far as I remember the story, what does he do? He goes over to the poor guy's house. He's got a flock. He takes his one little sheep. He brings his sheep, he shechs the sheep, and he feeds the people with the sheep. And David says, what? Are you kidding me? And he says, this is you. You're the king. All these wives, Rechiti's got one. What does David say back? Chatasi lasha. Rav Noach Weinberg says, the most masterful speech in Tanakh. What's the difference between a narrative and a story? I got one of the famous storytellers sitting here. What are the difference between a narrative and a story? A story is about the people in the story. You tell a story, it's about the characters. You heard about the guy who went, and you tell a whole story about a guy who went here and he went there. Great, awesome, I can't believe it. A narrative is when you're using a story to deliver a message. It's not about the story, it's about the message. The story that David HaMelech hears is almost irrelevant. All that's happening is Natan Hanavi is acting like a pediatrician. And he's saying, I got to get this little kid to take his medicine. But he's not swallowing a pill. He's 3. How am I going to get the medicine into his body? I have a good idea. Bubble gum. I know it's going to have to feel like bubble gum and taste like bubble gum, and he's going to drink it like bubble gum. He doesn't know any better. And if I can put the medicine in the bubble gum flavor, he's going to take his medicine. A narrative, what a narrative does is the narrative says, I got to deliver a message to you, but you're not going to hear it. And if I come up to you and I say, here's the story, you did the wrong thing, it's not going to have a delivered effect. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find something that I'm going to use, and it's not relevant. And what it's designed to do is to have, it's called a straw man. It's designed to have you go on my side of the fence and look together at the thing and go, I can't believe that happened. And as soon as you say, I can't believe that happened, the story unlocks. And you realize, oh my gosh, that's me. It hides a message. The Seder, believe it or not, in my humble opinion, is not about how we left Egypt. Because if it was, we would be looking at Shmos. The Seder is about our role, our connection to the fact that we left Egypt. It's the Masorah being passed down. It's that we are part of the story of leaving Egypt. Because the goal of a Seder is not for us to sit back and go, wow, a long time ago, there was these crazy tzaddikim, and Hashem split seas and brought plagues. Are we almost done? Can you pass the food? When am I ready? Are we finished yet? I'll meet you at Dayenu. It's irrelevant to me. But I checked my box. Hashem is happy with me. We called it a day. The goal of the Seder is to pass the Masorah. This is the moment where Jews are supposed to say, I can't believe I get to be a Jew. This is amazing. I love this. The goal of a Seder when you're done with it is your people get up from the Seder and go, Ashrinu ma tov chalkenu. This is insane. I can't believe I'm here. The way we do this is we use the story of Pesach not to tell the story. You want to hear the story? Go look at it in the Shmos. We use parts of the story on Pesach to tell the narrative. And there's basic fundamental values of what it means to be a Jew. And these fundamental values of what it means to be a Jew needs to get passed down in the family structure, in the friend structure. And so Hashem designs it. Now, that's why, Rabbi Levi says very, very clearly, he says that's why you got to make sure you're hitting up to the kids. So if you're at a Seder and you've got little kids and you've got 40 guests, you don't punch your kids to the corner of the table. That's not the goal. You're not trying to juggle in front of guests. You're trying to pass Masorah. And the ultimate goal of passing Masorah is to your family, is to your loved ones. The goal of the Seder is not to tell the story of Egypt in some complicated way. The goal of the Seder is, how can I pass over the values of what it means to be a Jew using what took place a long time ago so that the people around my table, in specific, my number one obligation, my own family, walk away year after year and say, oh my gosh, there's nothing better. If you accomplish that, that's what you're here for. That's called R. And if you don't, and instead the Seder becomes annoying and exhausting and boring, then you accomplish that. And that's not R. It's not R to think that Judaism is boring. It's not R to think that I can't believe I'm almost done with this. And so whoever's running the Seder, or if you're in the Seder, you have to understand the goal, and what we're going to do tonight, hopefully not too long, the goal is what's the message. Because there's nothing that we do. Nothing is designed, it's the most brilliant design. Nothing on this in this Haggadah is stam. It's placed and carried in the Masorah for the following reason. Because Nassan Navi taught us, I gotta teach you a very specific value, and here we go. So what are those values? So let's begin. Before we do, I got one announcement. If you're running a Seder, very important. This is like practical Seder runners. You have to understand, you're playing to the people that you need to give it to. You're playing to the kids. You're playing to the humans. Today, if you're 35, your attention span is probably right around the 4-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it. We have very short attention spans, which means you have to make sure you have time in the Seder. You have to, when you run a Seder, you have to realize that the Seder's got to move. It's like a flight. You got to take off on time and you got to land on time. And you got to make sure that the time you're in the air is done properly. So you have to understand a few quick tips. There are 3 major time sinks in a Seder that you have to be careful of. And this is where a lot of Seders go off the rails. Number 1 is the start time. When are you coming over? Who you have over? This person's coming. When you came over? Sometime after Ma'ariv. Everybody walks in. Happy holidays. Chag Sameach. Good Yontif, depending on where you're from. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Where are you sitting? I want to sit there. He should sit there. How can you sit there? Everyone is balagan. By the time you start a Seder, it's 45 minutes after you start a Seder. Ravadya is very clear. Ravadya says, start the Seder as early as possible. If you're running a Seder, figure out who's coming. Tell them to come at a certain time. Do the math. Calculate how long it takes to come home from shul. Prepare everybody's seats, and this is from Ravadia. This isn't like my ideas. You want to get your Seder started. Number 2, very important. Maggid is not meant for very long, complicated divrei Torah that nobody can follow except for the person saying it. That's what Shulchan Aruch is there for. Manage it. when you look at your table and you're just out to lunch, you want to say something? Sure, 28 minutes later. Do you want to say something? Absolutely, 35 minutes later. Before you know it, you lost the crowd because you're in control, which means if you're running a Seder and someone has a long thing to say outside the narrative, this is what you're eating for. And the last thing, which is really important, and this is the hardest one for us to get, but if we get through this now, it'll be easier later. This is not a Yontif meal. Yom Kippur is not a Yontif tefillah. If you come to Yom Kippur Shacharis going like, I don't know, usually they finish Yontif at like 2 hours. What do you think, 2.5? You're going to be blown out. It's Yom Kippur. You're standing the whole day. And if the guy has an hour break, you're happy for the hour break. This is not a Yontif meal, which means whoever is preparing the food should not be thinking, I'm going to plow everybody with an incredible spread like a regular Yontif. Shulchan Aruch is not meant to be 2.5 hours long, and when you're done, you too full for the afikomen, which we're going to get to, according to some of the Rishonim, is the Ikar Achilas Matzah. If you can think through those 3 areas and be able to be in charge of the time of Maggid, Shulchan Aruch, and Pri, you've got a lot of time before everybody checks out to deliver a lot of goods. And if you're in charge of it and you're thinking beforehand, it's great. One last thing and then we'll jump in. Someone gave me this advice, it changed my Seder. Make bags of everything you have to eat. It's a game change, which means Erev Yontif, buy a scale, ask your rabbi how much each thing should be. Don't be there like snap, as you, like, you know, you're sitting there, you see the Seder, as the balabas is eating, can't talk, he's cracking off matzahs. It's probably enough. I got too much. I can't believe it. 6 matzahs is like kazayas. There's no way. Everyone's yelling and screaming. Don't do that. Beforehand, you weigh it, you make baggies, Ziplocs, and you've got matzah, maror, afikomen, korech, and this way you fly around the mitzvahs. And anywhere else you can save a few minutes. Why? Because we're on. You got to see it that way. You're on. It's Yom Kippur. It's just Yom Kippur for your goof. You're on. You have one night. You got to deliver. You got to be in. And the more you can take away the distractions and the time waste, the more the Seder could be filled with the good stuff. You're not stuck in the 3-hour meal and 3 kids are sleeping. You got to wake them and come back to the table. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning and no one knows where everybody is. It's very important when you think this way. Okay, let's jump in. Number 1, Kadesh. What's the message of Kadesh? Why do we start with Kadesh for? The Sefer HaChinuch says, why do we do yayin for? What is the yisod of wine? This is so critical. And if you think about this, you can share it or not. It's up to you. But I want you to think of this. Wine is the most critical property for Simcha and Klal Yisrael. Why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, as the Sefer HaChinuch says, you're ma'orer harbe when you're soed or misameach. Yiddishkeit to so many people is when you're down. I was on the phone yesterday with a person when she was like, when things are crisis, I find Hashem. When things are good, I don't find Hashem. I'm like, of course, because you're used to always turning to the Kadosh Baruch Hu during crisis. So many people, myself included, all of us, condition ourselves to find Hashem in challenge. But when things are good, it's not the Eibush, there's not Hashem, there's no connection point. I don't know how to connect to Hashem with my good. He gives me my good. He's my Amazon.com, the Amazon.God supplier of my good, but once I get my good, it's my good. Kiddush begins with the following way. It's going to feel good. It's supposed to feel good. Yayin is supposed to be mesameach. The hisayrus of tonight is not because we're fasting, and because we're crying, and because we're davening, and because there's a crisis, and everyone's a tefillah. Because, okay, there's stuff going on in the world we have to be aware of. We can't be out to lunch. There are people that are brothers and sisters that are suffering. But the fact that you're sitting around the table, and you're thinking this way, and you're sharing this way, that it's okay, it's supposed to be that our connection to the Kodesh Baruch Hu comes with simcha. Tonight's goal is to connect to the Kodesh Baruch Hu with simcha, and for many of us, we don't know how to even do that. Whenever there's simcha, we turn off Hashem. So yayin begins because the goal of yayin is to teach you the following core lesson. There's 2 lessons of yayin. There's many. I'm offering to reject whatever you want to reject, take whatever you want to take. Number 1 is that if you notice something very interesting about wine, wine comes from grapes. Grapes are sweet. When things in life are sweet, you can choose to either have just the right amount and feel good, or overdo it and intoxicate yourself and feel bad. When you look over and understand what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is doing, he's saying every time something good happens in your life, it happens through wine. Every bris, every wedding, every simcha, every yontif, every Shabbos goes in the same path because I'm teaching you a lesson. This is sweet times. Drink just enough that it actually enhances your night. Do not intoxicate yourself because then you're going to throw up. Because that's life. Life in Yiddishkeit is, I want to take whatever you give me and I trust the proportions in which you give it to me. I know what I can do with this person and not that person, with this food and not this food, with that time, not that time. When you walk into the Seder with the perspective of, I have to get the balance of sweet in my life. And only Hashem has that balance. And if I'm lined up with the Kadosh Baruch Hu's balance, I'm going to have a life that feels good without going overboard. Wine begins the Seder in a new way. This is the launch of the other side of Tishrei. This is the launch. Kol Nidre is we're fasting. Kadesh is we're enjoying. And when you start your Seder, you have to understand that the goal for tonight is to show Hashem, I can connect to you more through the simcha. Give me more simcha. Because you want to see how much I can connect you through simcha? I don't got to do that stuff. Anyways you want me, I'm your child. And when a person starts with the Kadesh, the thinking should be, or whatever it is, I want to live my life, and my life is Kadesh. My life is a life in which every sweet thing you give me, I'm going to turn to you to balance properly so that I can live my life soed u'mesameach. And we begin with Kadesh. Important to note, because the goal for tonight is that this is the night of the guf. Very important that when you pour the cup, you should pour for each other. You know that, men and women, and make sure you're reclining. That's very, very important. Try to use red wine. Urchatz. Why is we go from there to Urchatz? What is Urchatz about? Urchatz is an amazing thing because Urchatz is a setup. We don't really do this. We don't really wash for vegetables. Well, if you dip a vegetable, you have to wash, but that's not really part of it. It's almost as if we're setting up the vegetable in order for us to wash. Why? So if you think about it, what is washing? Washing is an unusual thing. The Meshilach, the Ishbish, says that the goal for Yetzias Mitzrayim really is the goal of clarification and birur. What we're doing tonight at HaKadosh Baruch Hu is we're saying to Hashem, I am choosing you. Throughout the year I may be conditioned. Throughout the year I may be robotic. But tonight I'm going to be clarifying myself that my ratzon in life is for you. How does a person show his ratzon? I believe he speaks this a lot to me. How does a person show his ratzon for real? What is the true manifestation of somebody's ratzon? So the Meshilach speaks about it, and Sefer Chinuch speaks about it, and you see this again and again and again. When it comes to Kedusha, you see whenever time we get into Kedusha, what do we do to get into Kedusha? We're washing our hands. This Tumah, where does the Tumah go to? Our hands. Hands represent our actions. Even if you think about it in the English language, when someone says someone's hands are filled with blood, or their hands are clean, or they wash their hands of it, what they're saying is, my actions are filled with this way. You begin the Seder, and what the goal of the Seder is, I'm with you. I'm with you. But guess what? My actions have not been with you. I haven't been fully with you. Honestly, I haven't been with you. Urchatz comes in and says, like the Meshilach says, Urchatz is action represents ratzon, which represents clarification. The first thing you do before you begin the Seder is, you walk over and you wash your hands. The way you're waking up in the morning. And what that states, especially in the morning also, is we're starting straight. We're starting fresh. My actions are fresh. I'm walking into the Seder. I got to elevate, and my actions are fresh. I'm starting anew. Let's get rolling. It's a new day. It's the recreation of the physical world. I am resetting my actions, and tonight begins a new connection to you, Hashem. Karpas. What is Karpas? So you take the celery, you dip it into the salt water. Rav David Foreman once had a great connection that I saw later that they brought out in the Shalah. The Shalah says, why do we dip the Karpas into the salt water for? And this, by the way, is the great question that people love to ask. I don't know how many times you get this. I get this a lot. We whole night, we're trying to thank Hashem for taking out of Mitzrayim. Who put us into Mitzrayim? Right? Like really? Like shkayach. You stick me in jail, then you pull me out? Like it's the least you can do. It's a good question. So the Shalah says, Why do we dip right away? Al yedei hatibul v'yikhu es ketonis Yosef v'yitblu oso b'dam. You know what last time you saw dipping was? By Yosef. Hine hatibul harishon hu zecher le'oso hatibul. The Rabbi Manoach says, who's commenting on the Mishnah Torah, says, why do we do karpas for? Because karpas is karpas, ketones pasim. We're supposed to have galus. We're supposed to be in galus, that's for sure. The Medrash Tanchuma says that we're supposed to be, the Orach Chaim says that we were supposed to be in galus. That was part of the Bris Ben Abisarim. However, the galus could have been a lot of different ways. It could have taken place, had there not been Mechiras Yosef, the Bris Ben Abisarim says you need galus. But what does galus really mean? Maybe galus is someone takes over Eretz Yisrael. Maybe galus is you go down the block. Maybe galus is not going to be slavery. Maybe galus is not to stick in babies instead of bricks. Why did they end up in Mitzrayim for? So literally, why did they end up in Mitzrayim for? When they sold Yosef, Yosef went down to Mitzrayim. And when the famine hit the land, they went down to Mitzrayim. So when you're dipping the karpas into the salt water, what you're doing is reminding yourself that my actions really are my responsibility. We brought ourselves down to Egypt. I'm not saying everything would have been perfect. And I'm not saying you can figure out things in life. Whenever you do this, you can't logically go backwards, right? Every man's a husband, doesn't mean that every husband's a man, doesn't mean that every man's a husband. You can't reverse the logic. But just because we can't figure out why things happen doesn't mean that we're not responsible for things that happen. And the beginning of the Seder starts with us saying, my hands are clean, but my actions really matter. I brought myself down to Mitzrayim. And we get down to Karpas, and then we get into Yachatz. And what is Yachatz? Yachatz is when we break the matzah. What do? We take the matzah, and we break it into two pieces, the Daled and the Yud. The small piece goes back, the big piece goes out. And for those of the Sfarim in the room, we get into the world of Mish'arotam, which is what separates the men from the boys, the Mish'arotam thing. And then we ultimately have that piece of Yachatz go away. And what does that represent? What that represents, the Maharal says, that whenever you see brokenness, it's really gullus. And the piece that goes back into the piece that goes into the Afikoman that gets hidden is the bigger piece that represents the Korban Pesach, which is Geula. And so what you're really doing in this incredible way before you even begin the Seder is you are reenacting what it means to be in Gullus. We're sitting here today, we've cracked it, we're now sitting in Gullus, and the piece of Geula that represents that Pesach is hidden somewhere. Why is that so critical for? Because there's a difference between something being lost and something being hidden. There's a famous story that I saw on Chabad.org from the Maggid of Mizritz, who has a story, a lot of Rebbes have the story, but I saw the name of the Maggid, where he was walking by once, and he sees a little boy crying, and he says to the boy, why are you crying for? And he says, because we're playing hide and go seek and nobody's found me. And he goes, isn't that the game? You won. He goes, no, everybody stopped looking. So what's Pshat? They didn't find him. Pshat is the whole reason why you play hide and go seek is that somebody finds you. Why? Because when you lose something, this is losing something between you and the object. Losing is, I had something and I lost it. Hiding something means that there's a third party involved. If the thing is lost, that's between you and it. If the thing is hidden, that means somebody else took it and hid it from you for a purpose. Think about what we do. It's an amazing thing. We tell the kids, we're hiding the Afikoman to the end of the Seder. Go find it. What does that even mean, go find it? Why go find it for? The answer is, it's the story of our lives. The story of our lives. With the story of the Seder is a story of a people that's sitting around and the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, it's cracked. It's called Gullus. You know where Geula is? It's hidden. The R is hidden. And we're like, whatever. I hope you bring it someday. Like, I don't know, let me know. And Kadosh Baruch Hu's like, no, that's how it works. You're supposed to come look for it. And we're like, I don't know. Send the kids. We begin the story of the Seder with the whole story of the Seder. Geula is hidden. We got to go look for it. We got to bring it to us. That's the story of our lives. You're never giving up. That little kid who thinks he's getting a little tchotchke from Bobby and Papa or whoever, the whole night they're hacking. Where is it? You put it by the couches underneath. The little kids who think they're scoring big, they're like the whole night. It's all about that afikomen. Why? Because that's what it means to be a Jew. It means your whole life is about where's Hashem's R? Where can I find it? Is it in Tefillah? Is it in Torah? Is it in Chesed? Where is it? Because I'm chalashing for it, because otherwise I'm stuck in a dark world. Then Nesiv Shalom says something amazing. He says, Tzipisi Yeshua is, it's not a waiting. We wait for Mashiach as if we're sitting around, like minding our own business, and one day we're going to get a text. Holy cow, Mashiach. Maybe that'll happen, but that's not our job. Our job isn't to sit around passively. When the Nesiv Shalom says our job is to go out and bring it and look for it and search for it. And the Nesiv Shalom says, when you search for it, you release and you find the R of Geula. It's a process. That's the idea. You drag the light of Geula into your life when you're looking for it. It's an active. We didn't say a word yet in the Seder. We're in the opening 4. And if you're locked in, we've already told the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm elevating my life to follow you in the good of my life. I'm changing my action so that it's going to be aligned with you and it'll be clean. I realize that I'm responsible for everything that I do. And even though it was set for me to do something, it didn't have to be this hard, but I tripped up. And my life is supposed to be to find you. And somehow I realized that it's not lost, it's hidden. And hidden means come look for it. And that's how we begin the Seder. Is everybody with me still? We're okay so far? Anybody need to go? If anyone needs to go, it's okay. We can break. I can turn around. Okay, now we're getting into Maggid. I want you to look at the Seder if you can. Let's do Seder management for a minute. Seder management has 5 parts. And when you get into a part, you have to own the part and know where you're ending. Part 1 is opening 4. You want to get there nice. Part 2 is Maggid. Maggid is really split up into 3 parts, and you have to understand this. And the reason why this is so critical for us, when I first saw this, I was shocked. Because Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is actually not until the middle of it. Usually when everybody checks out in Maggid, and we're like, meet you at Dayenu, when that moment comes and goes, meet you at Dayenu, everyone starts laning it, and they meet at Dayenu, usually what they're doing is they're skipping over the actual part that you have mechuyev to read called Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. You go through Maggid, and for the first 10 to 15 parts of Maggid, it's not the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's the setup to the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. So Maggid begins. And when Maggid begins, remember, the whole Yesod is to do this with joy and with enthusiasm, and we're watching. This is a big Yesod for those who are part of it. And if you're not leaving the Seder, it doesn't matter. If you're at the Seder, you have to understand something. And we did a show on this, quote, whatever, we just did a show on this. People pass Masorah not by what you say, by what you feel. One rabbi told me that in America today, the only traditions that are left in America today is sports. A guy's from Boston, he moves to New York, he goes to Yankee Stadium in the bleachers with a Red Sox jersey on, taking his life into his hands. Gets beer bottles, gets cursed at. His yarmulke, once he gets on the train, the yarmulke's off. But he's willing to go through. We're a regular American guy. Doesn't have to be a Jew. Regular American. Why? And then he leaves the stadium and they go, why'd you wear it? Just switch to becoming a Yankee fan. You're in New York. He'll go, never. And you go, why? What's the big deal? You don't own the team. My grandfather was a Red Sox fan. My father was a Red Sox fan. I'm going to give up the family Messiah? You're like, what are you talking about? And the answer is because when you see your family care about something, that becomes your identity. If you're at a Seder table and you care about what's taking place, the people around you say, this thing is not important. It's me. It's me. You don't change your identity. You change your preferences. You don't change your identity. People that weren't connected to Judaism walked into the Holocaust and said, I'm still a Jew. Once it became their identity, they don't change your identity. So depending on where you are, if you're sitting at a Seder and you're not running it, you have to feel it. You have to bring it. By the way, if you're sitting at a Seder that's going off the rails, then you got to bring it on yourself. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is building your kli. You got to own it yourself. But if you're sitting at a table and you're not leading it, people are watching you. Everyone's watching you the whole Seder. You have to be on. And if you're not going to walk into Maggid pumped, you're telling your family, this is not important. What's important is eating. And this is in the way of my food. That's a clearer message to your kids than whether you say the right lines. So as you go into Maggid, deep breath, and you go in with enthusiasm. Halach ma'anya. What does halach ma'anya mean? You begin right away with halach ma'anya. This is the matzah. You point to the matzah. What does it mean, halach ma'anya? So Levi and I spoke about this for a while. The entire goal of what we're doing from now into the Seder, you have to understand something. What we're doing is not cleaning for Pesach. For those of you who are zochet to be home to clean for Pesach, I want to tell you something. And we spoke about this. It's on Torah Anytime if anybody wants to see I have a whole class on it. From him. I just had an interview with him. Every second that you're schwitzing to get rid of chametz, what you're doing on a spiritual level is you are working out your internal gaiva. Gaiva is our selflessness. It doesn't mean you have to be arrogant. Gaiva is not just arrogance, it's selflessness, it's selfishness. I'm a human, I'm a person. I'm separate from Hashem. I have needs. I assert my needs. Wherever there's an aspect of our gaiva, that aspect of our gaiva is lacking the Kadosh Baruch Hu, lacking Shechina. And on life, our job is to grow and to continuously refine ourselves until we have no gaiva. What we're doing when you clean for Pesach is you're actually going through, it looks like you're cleaning food. It looks like you're cleaning dirt. It looks like you're taking your cars to the cleaning thing. It looks like you're cooking, and all you're doing is cooking with Pesach ingredients. It's not true. That's only the surface. What you're really doing is you're going through an avoda. The Kohen looks like the Kohen was just shechting. The Kohen's not just shechting. He's being ma'or something in the karban. What you're doing whenever you're cleaning your chametz is what you're really, and the more shvit the rabbi says, the more you're compensating for something later on. What you're really doing is you're taking out that piece of you that still has the bit of gaiva. And you have to have that in mind. When you're cleaning your house, have in mind that whatever that means, this is a spiritual avoda. The Kohen Gadol is busy with blood and stuff, and he's sticking his hands in cows, but the regular Kohen, he knows it's an avoda. This is an avoda, and the avoda here is halach ma'anya. Your entire avoda, the schlepping, the going, the cleaning, everything, the bir chametz, the getting on your floor, the walking over to bir chametz, all that we do from now until that moment is, we stare at a piece of matzah and go, ha lachma anya. Anya is from the word oni. I'm nothing. I'm just what Hashem gives me. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have my family. I don't control anything. I don't control my children. I don't control the future. I don't control the world. Look what's going on. One day I can fly. One day I can't fly. One day it's this. One day it's that. I mamish, if I'm being honest, ani klum. I am that matzah. For real. Oni. I've been schwitzing over it my whole life. The reason why my relationship isn't better, because it's about me. The reason why I don't connect to Hashem, honestly, is because it's about me, and it's uncomfortable. The reason why I haven't been able to give tzedakah properly, I haven't been able to give myself properly to someone. The reason why I'm on the phone with someone who needs my help, the reason, whatever goes on in your life, if you really think about it, you will realize that so much of the problems in our life really is this inflation that we have in ourselves. We're so insecure. We've identified with the world so much that we forget that who we really are is just a piece of Hashem, the rabbi always says. You come to the Seder and you're exhausted from all this stuff. And the first thing you say at the Maggid is, kids, family, parents, you see that matzah in the middle? That matzah? That's me. Halach ma'anya. Because you know what? The truth is, me'ayin yavo ezri. Because I don't need to be anything. Because I'm connected to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That realization that it's not all about me. It's about Him changes everything. We think that it blocks us. We think kochi is what makes us. And I got money, and I got power, and I got this, and I got that, and I got stuff, and I got maisim toivim, and I got tzidkis, and I know Torah. When you walk into a Seder and you look at that matzah before you begin, and you say, before we start telling this story, I want to realize, en likum, something amazing happens. Kol zich dichvin yese v'yechol. I'm open. I'm not like hacking. I have enough food. What's enough food? It's all open. Kol ditzrich yesev yivsach. Hashta hacha l'shana ba'ar Yisrael. There's no boundaries anymore. You see, what holds us back in life, and I've gotten this from the rabbi a billion times, to hold us back in life is what I can do. Anyone ever done this before? Someone goes, can you help me with something? And you right away go, I can't. How do you know? No, I know. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't collect that. I can't. How do you know you can't? You know how you know you can't? Because you haven't. And for most people, their history predicts their destiny. How do you know you can't do it? How do you know you can't grow in Yiddishkeit? How do you know you can't read? I can't learn. How do you know you can't learn? You know how I know I can't learn? Because I'm already 28 years old and I haven't. Really? That's it? I'm something. And I'm something. And with who I am, I know what tomorrow is. I'm 80 years old. I'm 80 years old and I can't. Really? You're not going to make it through the Seder because you're not going to make it as a Yid if it's about you. So we begin with, it's about you, Hashem. And the second you think that, you go, if it's about you, you can do anything. Therefore, house is open. Yeah, it looks like we can't be in Israel next year. Mashiach can come? Possible. You know what? It's all possible. Because what we don't understand is that the more humble we make ourselves, the more chametz we get rid of ourselves, the more opportunities are open to us. The only thing holding us back is ourselves. It's the ani that holds us back. And when you're about to take over and get a piece of the Mesorah, you begin with, it's not me. And then we get into the next piece, and I'm going to go quick, so just stick with me. Hold on. I've got to make sure I'm done on time. There's a lot more to do. We get to the next piece, which is one of the most interesting pieces of the world, depending on your family. This is really a big, huge, it's wonderful. Manish, the 45, let him, take your time, honey, take your time. Whatever you need. The guy's like, let's go. And mommy or grandma's like, take your time. We have all day. Go. Manishta. No one's in a rush, honey. This is the part where we torture these poor little kids who are like superstars in school, and they're like, nah. The minute they look around and there's stage fright, and we're like, you have to. I think we should really have a little bit of rachmanis on the kids, do the best they can, and then but make sure you, brother, this is important. We missed this. You have to say every word in the Haggadah. Every word, you have to say every word. It's not with your eyes. You have to say every word, including Manishtana. But if you notice something about Manishtana, we don't answer any questions. Nobody says, oh, you know why? Because you just ask questions and everyone's like, shkayach, yay! And then someone gives him a treat and he moves on. And then the whole game is asking questions. The whole thing. You look at the Gemara. Why do we dip twice? Because what's going on? The answer is very simple. The Kadesh Baruch Hu created the Torah ambiguous on purpose because he doesn't want you to follow like a robot. He wants you. Which means if you're sitting in the Seder and going, this doesn't make sense, welcome to being a Jew. It's not supposed to make sense in the first iteration. Urchatz says, the God that I fully understand is the God that I don't want to follow. People are confused about the Kadesh Baruch Hu. Yeah, it's the Kadesh Baruch Hu. You're supposed to be confused about the Kadesh Baruch Hu because you're not Hashem. Why is Torah so weird? That's how Torah is set up. There's a chsav, and there's a Baal Peh, and they don't all connect, and there's a piece here, and there's a piece here, and someone darshans this, and darshans that, and there's two opinions, and they're both right, but this opinion's wrong. I don't understand. Good. You're not supposed to understand. You know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to ask. You know why? Because the only people that ask questions are the people that care. Mom was a school teacher. You sit in the room, you say something in a class, one kid raises their hand. It doesn't matter what the answer is. That kid's getting an A. You know why? Because the kid cares. Everyone else is out to lunch. Hashem's telling you a message, and you're telling people a message. You're not waiting for some kid to choke on a manishtana. That's what we're doing. We're just waiting around and torturing a kid. This manishtana is the key to the whole entire story of Judaism. You're thinking it, you're saying it. This is life. Life is, it makes no sense. And there's no answer afterwards. Shkayach. Wait 20 years. You'll get it. Or you'll get it right away. But when a person comes in and says, wait a second, I don't know anything. I thought I knew last year. What do I know? But I got to ask. Now you're opening. Now you're heading into Yiddishkeit. Now you're entering into the Seder. And the Seder begins. Avadim hayinu leparim Mitzrayim. This is, by the way, great fake out. Everyone thinks we're starting with Paro, right? This is like the fake out one. Avadim hayinu. And then we make a left turn. Now we're in Bnei Brak. Like, how do we get to Bnei Brak? I thought I was in Egypt. Wait, I thought we were almost done. I can't believe it. Wait, how did this guy? What are we talking about? Got 4 sons of coming that way? What's going on? Huge fake out. What is going on over here? Avadim hayinu leparo. What does it mean? At the end, it says, had we not been taken out, we would have been mishubadim the powers. I saw this in the name of Rav Dessler, where he speaks about a great yesod that we have to think about. The yesod is like this. What does it mean, mishubadim? So he has a whole tiny, he doesn't say this directly, but you can take it from what his paragraph is. What is the difference between avadim and mishubadim? Because the pasuk says we were avadim and then we became mishubadim. What's the difference between avadim and mishubadim? Avadim is we were physically connected. Mishubadim is we were connected, we were enslaved. Slaves and enslaved are two totally separate things. Slavery is when I'm forcing you to do something. Enslaved is when you are being forced to do something. It's different. When you engage in something, someone could force you. When you're a young kid, someone could say you have to be a doctor. And we're forcing you to go to school to be a doctor. That could be slavery. But the way your mind works is as you engage in something, you invest yourself in something. If someone forced you as a kid to be a doctor, 20 years later, you yourself want to be a doctor. How'd that work? Because you have to understand how your brain works. Whatever you invest in, you think you like. And if you don't know that, your future is your past. If you don't know that trick, if you don't understand that whatever you did, whenever you did it in your history, that becomes who you are through neuroconnections or whatever it is. So you have to realize that the things that we are connected to in life usually are the things that we may not have chosen when we started our lives. I may not have chosen my job. I may needed a job. So I went to a place and they gave me work to do and I'm working in this company. 10 years later, I'm sitting at the Seder worrying about whether or not I got an email because I got to answer because we got a deal closing. Wait, weren't you just looking for a job when you got out of Israel? It didn't even matter and now your whole day is worrying about the client? How'd that work? Maybe when you were young, you're thinking like, why do I got to worry about what I wear? I just want to have fun with my friends. And then they made you wear something nice because you have to look good in front of your friends. And now 20 years later, you're thinking to myself, she's wearing something. I should have bought that. I can't believe I didn't buy that dress. What happened? Why are you enslaved to it? The answer is because the way your mind works is that if you're engaged in something and you're not aware of it, it enslaves you. If we wouldn't have been taken out by Hashem, when we were taken out by Hashem, we would have been in Egypt and we would have been enslaved. We may not have been working every day and every night when it's light and when it's dark, whatever, but you know what? We would have been Egyptian. How do you know? Because when Hashem says later, take the Karpas and Pesach, how many people Klal Yisrael left Egypt? 20%. How's it 20%? Because they were slaves. So how come 20% left? You should have had everyone leave. Because they were so stuck in the culture. They were so stuck in that culture, but this culture enslaved them. If you don't get it, if you don't get this point, your life is going to be a very close copy of yesterday. If you can't look at the things we do and say, why do I wear that? Why do I buy that? Why am I competing with this guy? Why am I so worried about this email? Why is this person's success bothering me so much? What is going on? Why am I not free to be able to turn around and pursue Hashem? What is enslaving me? I know, it's the stuff that I wasn't even choosing when I was a kid. It's fine, but you got to see it. 3 generations, gone. Look at the simulation charts. 3 generations, they're gone. Look at the wealth charts. Go look at the wealth charts. 3 generations, they're gone. In 3 generations, your brain's already lost. You forget where you come from. You're sitting at a Seder. This is a moment where you say to yourself, how much am I worried about? And how much of what I'm worried about is because it's really important or because I've been conditioned to worry about it? I got kids in the room, some people. What am I doing to them? Because in 10 years from now, they're not going to remember that I was just worried about whether or not they can get it, whatever. Starting right now, I'm at the Seder. Cut. Lachma'anya. I'm Hashem's. What am I making myself nuts for? How come I'm happy for that person who has success? Why am I working so hard for? I can't take a minute to breathe? I'm on my phone all day? Why did I buy 40 outfits this week? I have to worry about how I look all the time? I'm so insecure? What's going on? I used to be the person that would be connected to Kadesh Baruch Hu. The answer is, it's okay. Mishubadim. I got it. Mishubadim. I got it. Hashem amen. Afilu kulanu chachamim. The next portion. We keep on rolling. Stick with me. These are values. Afilu kulanu chachamim. What does that mean, kulanu chachamim? Kulanu yoidim es ha-Torah. Mitzvah aleinu l'saper b'yitzias Mitzrayim. What is Yitzias Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim is the Torah. This is a big yesod. Torah is not material information. Torah is not, I got it, I'm done. Torah is a cover for depth. Every year, every time, every round through Parshos, every time you review something, every Gemara, every holiday, every time we say to ourselves, I know this already. I know this already is, I don't know this yet. I'm stuck. I'm mushubadim. I'm stuck in this world. So when I look at Torah, I'm seeing where it helps me. Truth is, I have to see where is the wisdom that I've been missing. I'm sitting by Haggadah. I'm looking at it and going, I know the story. You think there's one person walking in to say doesn't know the story? You think your kids don't know the story? They spend half the year with the story. Kids are backing up trucks of props for the Seder. The kids like, nope, everybody, no one's going, wait a second, did they get out? I hope so. Wait, yes, because I wasn't sure with the firstborn. Oh my, no one's doing that. We know it already. And you're reading this and you're going, I know it already. And you get to this line, you look down and you go, I don't know anything already. I think I know it already, I know nothing. Because you know what? I have a mitzvah to go through this again because there's a lesson this year that I'm going to get about my life that I missed last year because I didn't live it yet last year. There's a lesson in the Parsha this week I'm going to get. I didn't get last year. There's a lesson in my tefillah this morning in Shachris that I'm not going to get because yesterday's Shachris, not today's Shachris. That's what it's like to live in spiritual wisdom. And if we don't believe it, forget it. And in case we didn't know for sure, now the Haggadah takes us down to Bnei Brak. And in Bnei Brak, we have the greatest rabbis of all time. And the greatest rabbis are all sitting all around all day, all night, and they're going through the Haggadah. Why? Because the Haggadah is showing you, if you think you got it, you trust me, don't got it. But it goes deeper. Here's how it goes deeper. Listen to this. I got this a little bit from the Maharal. This is from the Maharal. A little bit, all of it. Maharal explains that whenever you see in Torah, darkness in Torah means exile. It's separation from Hashem. Hashem is darkness. Hashem's absence is darkness. Light is Hashem's light. So truthfully, when you see Shachris, Yom, day, that's Geula. That's a representation of Gilui. When you see Laila, night, it's a representation of exile. Listen to how this reads now. It's unbelievable. Listen to how this reads. Ma'aseh Rabbi Eliezer. And Yeshua and Shayu Mesubim b'Bnei Brak. They're staying in Bnei Brak, and they were all night. Listen to how he says it. Mesaprim b'Yetzias Mitzrayim kol oso halayla. Listen to these words. They're awesome. What's Yetzias Mitzrayim? What are we talking about? Getting the matzah, geula, amuna. Hashem's with you. I'm a nothing. That's Yetzias Mitzrayim. I didn't believe in Hashem. I believe in Hashem. When were they doing it? Kol oso laila. What time did they live in this world? When did these tzaddikim in Bnei Brak live? After what? After the Chorban Bayis. It was the darkest time of all time. Remember, Rekiva walked around laughing. Remember the end of the Gemara? Remember can you imagine being alive during the Chorban Bayis time? The darkness that descended on Klal Yisrael. They felt abandoned. Hashem just burnt the Beis HaMikdash down. This is the people that are rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash. They're rebuilding the world from the ashes of the Beis HaMikdash. You know what they're doing all night? You know what they're doing in the exile? You know what they're doing in the darkness? You know what they're doing during hard times? They're engaged in Yetzias Mitzrayim. Amuna, amuna, amuna. It's hard. Amuna. It's hard. Amuna. Until when? Until the Talmidim come and say, Higiya Zman Shel Shachar. I saw somebody says, how come they didn't see the sun? Why did the Talmidim have to come get them? They're looking outside the window, and it's getting lighter, because you look outside the window, it's dark, and then all of a sudden there's Alos, and from Alos there's Nates, and the sun comes gradually. That's not how, Geula doesn't work that way. You know how Geula works? Terrifying. You're stuck in something, and you're diving to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and there's an issue with the business, there's an issue with your family, and all of a sudden, Hashem gives you a Geula, and when Hashem gives you a Geula, it's like this. Every second, any second. Bnei Brak is a story of people that were stuck in darkness. And you know what they did in darkness? These are the biggest rabbis of all time. You know what they did in darkness? They turned to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Munah. And at 1 second, you know what happened? That guy, Talmidim walked in and said, Higiya Zman Shel Shachris. You know why? Kids, family, myself. You know why? It's a narrative. It's the narrative. I'm not trying to figure out what took place in Bnei Brak. This is our life. Where have I been all year? Why have I not believed in Hashem? I look back at my year, there's 10 times where I spent my time worrying and it worked out. When am I going to learn? He runs the world. Enough. How much simcha did I lose in my year? How much amunah have I lost? Kol oso laila. The rabbis are showing us. Believe in the Eibishter. Who cares how it works out? It's his problem. He wants you to sit around and deal with Yetzias Mitzrayim kol oso halayla. And then the next paragraph, what happens? One of the great Rabbanim, the next paragraph is, we're going to keep on flying. I want you to get as much as I can. I'm trying. I'm going quicker. I'm speaking like, for those of you who are not from New York, I'm really sorry. This is much more complicated. I'm Rabbi ben Azariah, Harary ben Shivim Shana. So the story in Gemara Brachas, you know the story, Gemara Brachas, you look it up. Elazar ben Azariah, at one point, they took out Rabbi Gamliel, who was the Nasi. They needed somebody else. They appointed Elazar ben Azariah. He was only 18. His wife said, you look very young. A miracle happened. And he looked, his beard grew white, and now he looked like he was 70 years old. Harary ben Shivim Yashana. Listen to what he says. Listen to how beautiful this is. Listen to this taich. I heard this is true. Listen to this. Yesterday, the last paragraph. Look, this is like, I don't know. This is. If we have this at the Seder, can you imagine sitting at the Seder reading this and looking up to the Kadesh Baruch Hu and saying, Hashem, I'm going to work this year to believe in you more? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine stopping your meal and telling your kids a story about Amunah, Belelos, that somebody had real Amunah and faith, and you tell your family, this is what it means to be a Jew? That's a kli. That's a kli. That's an R. Hashem has a place to go. What does Elazar ben Azariah say? Now you understand the words. You can see it from this perspective, right? I was not zocheh to do what? To engage in Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is Amunah Belelos. Who said you could do that? Who said Layla is supposed to be for Amunah? Who said that? Maybe Layla should be Hashem's pushing you away. Achadosh Ben Zoma, she says, Laman Tiskar Yom says Cham Eretz Mitzrayim, Kol Yimei Chayechad. The Chachamim say it means when you get to the future, you'll remember the past. Elazar ben Azariah says, Ben Zoma came and said, listen, I knew Pesach is the night of Amunah. Pesach is the night of Ar. Pesach is no Mazikin. As Rabbi says, Pesach is, we don't say Krish Malamita. Pesach is Halal. I got that. You telling me you want Amunah? I got it. Once a year, Pesach. I can do this every night. I can do this every day. Wait, this works on a Tuesday? This works in the middle of the year? I can say Yitzias Mitzrayim every night? Kol Yimei Chayecha. Okay. That's awesome. Hashem is telling you, me and you. Tell the family, me and you, me and Hashem. Emunah, narrative. This is why you're a Jew. You get this. Her friend has the greatest story of, remember the famous story of a friend in the waiting room? Her friend sitting in the waiting room in a hospital, and he looks around, and there's all these wonderful people that are not connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and they're playing crossword puzzles. And he looks at every yid, and they're zugging Tehillim. And he says to himself, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu. You understand this? We actually can have a situation in which you can say a bunch of words from David HaMelech, and the surgeon's hands work better? What kind of gift is that? And we do this, and we take it for granted. We take tefillah for granted. Who has the gall to think they can sit in their house, and someone, God forbid, is sick, and they can open up some Hebrew words, and because they say it, what the world deserves to be different, you're going to control world politics now? You can't, the UN can't do it, and Trump can't do it, but a bunch of Yidden that sit around, and by the way, everyone here believes you can. Everyone in this room believes that a bunch of ladies killing Tehillim is much more powerful than every politician, and we all know that for sure. You put people, if you take this side of the room and go, put $1 million. Who do you bank on to decide the future of the world? These 40 ladies saying Tehillim or the UN? Come on, is there even a chance? What kind of gaiva is that we have? What, because your mouth, you get to control the world? You know what that's called? Amunas Chabalelos. That's the Haggadah. That's the Seder. That's what you're giving over to somebody. Do you realize how lucky you are? You're 4 years old. You're 12 years old. You're 28 years old. You think it's nothing? You think your mouth means nothing? Do you know how lucky you are? You don't even appreciate it. You think you can open your mouth and the creator of the world changes the whole trajectory? Yeah, you do believe that, don't you? That's awesome. Pause. Welcome to being a Yid. We're passing the Masorah over tonight. We're talking about this. Baruch HaMakam Baruch Hu. Let's keep on rolling. Again, take whatever you want. Use whatever you want. It's going to be online if you want it, and I'm going to give you a handout. Just take it in. We're building. Baruch HaMakam. Why is it Baruch HaMakam? So there's a rabbi named Rabbi Kalmanson from Chabad. He has a great line. When do we say HaMakam? We usually say HaMakam when things are not great. HaMakam Yinachem Eschem. Because it says Hashem's here. It's His place. Baruch HaMakam Baruch Hu. We're talking about Hashem's giving us the Torah. Baruch Shenasan Torah La'amo Yisrael. Wait. Hamakom for Torah? That's what we do for Torah? It's like we need to give somebody nechama? So he goes, you know why? Because can I get arba banim dibra Torah? Because malachim get it in a second. And the kids, if they were malachim, they'd go to school and they'd get it in a second. And if I was a malach, I'd be sitting there going, oh, I love this. But we don't got that. So Baruch HaMakam Baruch says, okay, it's how it's designed. Don't panic. But there's 4 archetypes. And he speaks about how each one is a piece of us. And I want to go through each one. Because if you really want to do the Arba Banim properly, the Arba Banim is in your head. The Arba Banim is around your table. The Arba Banim is in the world. But really, 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 if we're honest, the Arba Banim is us. The first ben is the Chacham. What does the Chacham say? What makes him a Chacham? He doesn't know anything. Usually the Chacham is the one that knows. The Chacham says, Ma ha'edus v'achukim v'hamishpatim. If you're such a Chacham, why do you have to ask me what's going on? Shouldn't you know what's going on, Mr. Chacham? And the answer is, what makes him a Chacham is, he's asking, what do I do? As a kid growing up, I remember I used to be, as a young boy, my whole life surrounded an orange ball. That was my life. Until I graduated high school, everything surrounded a basketball. Every Sunday we watched this video called Come Fly With Me with Michael Jordan, mid-90s. Anyone under the age of 45 has no idea what I'm talking about. Come Fly With Me, Michael Jordan. When you finish watching, or it was Larry Bird, depending on the moment. When you finish watching Come Fly With Me, Michael Jordan, you're a ball player, you know what you did afterwards? You did not turn it off. You know what you did? You went to the backyard and you practiced the moves. As if you're going to be Mike. You put the thing on, you wagged your tongue, you did your moves, you did your whole thing. What if it was snowing? It was snowing. What if it was freezing? It was freezing. You know why? Because when it comes to ball, I wanted to be a Chacham. And the second I see someone doing something, Ma ha'edus, how do I do this? How do I do this? I got to do it. You want to know if you're a Chacham in Yiddishkeit? You want to have a good metric to see where you're holding in Yiddishkeit? When someone says something, your response is, how do I do that? That means that's valuable. Because if I said to you right now, I have an incredible stock everyone has to buy, and it's not SpaceX, everyone's selling SpaceX, and if you have a great stock that everyone's got to buy, trust me, it's going to go nuts. You're not going to come away, if you care and you believe me, let's say, you're not going to be like, stop with the stock stuff. You're going to be like, what's going on? Because I care about money. And if I care about money, if you know I care about money, because when I'm done speaking, you're going to want to do the thing that's going to get you money. Here's a metric in your life and in my life. You can measure your relationship to Torah based on how much you want to do when you see something is true. That's why they say, Ein mafti af ata amr lo kehilchas Pesach ein maftirim achar Pesach afikoman. They say, you know what you got to do? Teach him to the afikoman. Kid wants to learn. Kid wants to know. To the end. Be honest now. We're in the Seder now. This is Rosh Hashanah for the year. Honestly, in your head, when you're going through this, say to yourself, how much of me is really a Chacham? For real. What's the Rasha? In our world, since we live in a very material world, we think Rashas are people that hurt our bodies. It's not like that in Yiddishkeit. You can't hurt anyone's body. That's like an olive base. Rashas in Yiddishkeit hurt your soul. Someone who's trying to get you out of Hashem, someone trying to shmad you is a Rasha. You don't have to, in our world of America, live and let live, whatever, everyone does what they do. In the Torah language, a Rasha is somebody who is trying to hurt his or someone else's soul. That's Olam Haba. That's forever. There's a Rasha inside us. There is. You know what he says? Maha avoda hazeh lachem. Oh, please. Oh, you got to be. It's kosher. It's kosher. It's kosher. Oh my gosh. Why'd you let him home from Israel? I'm telling you, the whole thing with the whole, no, you don't have to wear that. You don't got to eat that. For real? Another thing we got to do? You got to be kidding me. I got to speak to your rabbi. You didn't even hear it yet. Why you say that for? The answer is, deep down, okay, sometimes people go a little nuts. Usually it's, when it first comes out, it's, I can't do that. I can't. I do enough. I do enough. I do enough. I haven't been zapped. I'm good. I don't need more. And when you start bringing things up to me, if you tell me the thing that I ate isn't kosher now, what you're telling me is there's more work to do, and that ma ha'avoda zu lachem. That's for the fanatics, not for normal people. Because we all believe that everyone to the right of us is a fanatic, and everyone to the left of us is barely Jewish. We figured out Yiddishkeit to the perfection. And the minute someone that's more says do something, my brain goes, oh, you got to be kidding me. It can't be true. It can't be true. You know why? Ma ha'avoda hazos lachem. Because that's what those people do. Now, you may not do it. You have a rabbi, you have a guide, you have Shulchan Aruch. It's not about doing it. This is your, and the Rabbi Levi always says, you want to know what you're holding? It's your instinct. This is like taking a personality test during the Seder. This is real. I'm sitting at a Seder and I'm having a Yom Kippur experience through food. And I'm asking myself, how much of Yiddishkeit do I look at and go, Ma avoda zelachem? You got to be joking me. I'm not telling anybody. But this is called building yourself into a kli. What do you do with these people? You say, you're missing it. You're really missing it. Because you know what's going to happen? Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to ask something of you. You know how we got out of Egypt? I'll tell you how. 9 plagues, and then the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, go down the block, take their God, and put it in the house. Maha avoda. Man, was that avoda. Trust me, that attitude in Egypt, you'd be still in Egypt. I'm just telling you straight. And we all have it. All of us, if we're being honest, has a piece of us that says, relax. And not, really? I could try. You know why? Because that piece of us is the chametz that's inside us that says, if I didn't, I can't. And if it's unfamiliar, it's not true. That's called chametz. Halach ma'anya. I don't know. Do I know the koiches that I have? Everything's possible. Tam mahu omer. Who's the tam? You know what the tam is? The tam is the robot inside us. The tam says, mazos. I'm here. What's that? Why do I fast? I don't know. Why do you eat matzah? I don't know. You just eat matzah. Why do you eat I don't know. Why do you do Judaism for? I do it. Why? I light candles. I don't know. Why do you do anything? I don't know. I mean, you don't know. I don't know. You ever ask? No. Why? I don't know. I'm busy. I got stuff going on. I'm on my phone all day. I got, you know WhatsApp groups I'm on? I'm watching Israeli F-16s all day because I think I'm part of the Mossad. I got to make sure I'm up to date with everything going on. I can't possibly spend 10 minutes to figure out why. I do Judaism. They're not Russias. Not Chachams. You know what that part of us is? Honestly, it's a Tom. Tom says, Mazos, I don't know. And then there's the She'eno Yodeh L'Shol. You know something interesting? Look at the actual language. You will see that the answer to the She'eno Yodeh L'Shol and the answer to the Russia is the same answer. She'eno Yodeh L'Shol, we say, you know why? Because the She'eno Yodeh L'Shol is so far, he doesn't even know what he doesn't know. It's not even in my world. I'm so far away from this. I don't even know to ask that question. I don't do it. I don't know it exists. Wait, there's something called, what are you talking about? Like you have to wait to eat? What do you mean? I didn't know you have to wait between milk and meat. What? That's a thing? That's not a thing. No, on the show we did, the guy came on and said at his Seder, they said, you can't have bread. Doesn't mean you can't have nothing. So you can have crackers. That's not bread. You can have brownies. That's not bread. What? That's not true. You can't have anything. You just can't have bread. That level of ignorance, which we have, is really close to Russia. I'm so far that it just seems like it's too hard. And we're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. But you see what we're doing? You see what the Baal Haggadah is doing? The Baal Haggadah is saying you're about to engage in the most important story of the year. If you engage in the most important story of the year and you're not there, it's not going anywhere. If you're about to go to the most important story of the year, and as you get there, you're really not interested, you gotta call it out. Because if you're not interested and you get there, what's it gonna do for us? What's it gonna do for you? So you get to the Banim, and we're almost ready for the story. And you get to the Banim, and you don't call people out. Like, saying that you're the Russia, you're the Tom is not the best idea. But in our own minds, looking down and saying, Hashem, between me and you, yeah, I lie. I remember Karpas a minute ago. I remember my Yachatz, my Rachatz, Kadesh, my Urchatz. I got it. This is like you're going through a process. Okay, we're going to keep on rolling for a minute, and then we're almost done with this part. But I got the clock. We're going to be done on time. Okay, Rosh Chodesh. Why is Rosh Chodesh? Yachol Rosh Chodesh. Why? Here's the good stuff. Now it's going to turn around now. Why in the world do we think we can start on Rosh Chodesh for? Because what's Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh is Hashem's way of saying, what time do you want to do it? It's an amazing thing, by the way, which you don't appreciate. You know, Rosh Chodesh, we set. The Beis Din sets Rosh Chodesh, which means the Beis Din decides, it's famous Mishnah, the Beis Din decides when Yom Kippur is going to fall out. Wait, I thought Hashem decides when Yom Kippur is going to fall out. You mean all the R of Yom Kippur, tshuva? Tonight, we're going to sit around and have R. Massive R from Shemayim. Wait, that means that the Beis Din decided when Pesach is? So the Beis Din's going to tell Hashem when to bring the R? That's incredible. You know why? Because you're a partner with Hashem. The minute Hashem gave you that, you said, maybe I should start saying it then. Because being a partner with Hashem is incredible. And the last piece before we start getting to the end is the next one here, which is something that we really miss, which is with Yeshua's charge. The next thing we say is Mitchila of the Avodah Zarah. What is that? And it's really important if you have a minute to go look at this. The next piece of Mitchila of the Avodah Zarah is Yeshua at the end of his life. We only get a couple of snippets. At the end of his life, Yeshua gathers around the people in Shechem. And he says, in the beginning, your grandparents were of the Avodah Zarah. And then, it's you. Welcome to Eretz Yisrael. This doesn't belong to you. You're part of this shtalshelus. You're part of a bris Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You got a mission. Why do we put it here for? Because this is the whole reason why we're here for. All the stuff we're doing until now. Why do we care that you've got a Tom and a Shana Deli Shal? Why do we care about half the things we're talking about? You know why we care so much, kids? You know why we care so much myself? When we get to this part of the Haggadah, you know why we care so much for? Is because we're turning to the Kadosh Baruch Hu and saying, wait, I'm in this. I'm part of this mission. I'm part of this nation. You picked me to be in this. And if you picked me in this, it started by my great-great-grandparents that have Avodah Zarah, and it goes all the way down to me. You're sitting at the Seder, and you realize that all the stuff beforehand is there because Hashem cares about you. He doesn't want you to be a Tom. He doesn't want you to be a She'en Deli Yishal. He doesn't want you to be someone that's walking around and not getting it. Why? Because I have to be doing this. There's only a few people picked into this nation. Once you say that, and you get it, and by the way, when you're doing the Seder, you don't have to do all this, but you got to understand it to know which parts to say. Once you get that, and you're getting it, you go to the last piece, both the last part, which is V'hi She'amda. And V'hi She'amda could be the most powerful moment, because what is V'hi She'amda? You've gotten through all these pieces. Think about how much work potentially you're doing to get to this point. You're even exhausted listening to me doing it right now. Wait till you're in the Seder. This is why you got to make sure everybody's there on time. This is the point of the night. The whole point of the night is to go through all these pieces and saying this depth and Munah B'Leilos and B'nai Brak, and to make sure that it's every single night. Elizabeth Azariah and Hashem's with you, and there's a Munah, and don't be a Russia, and all of this comes down. Why? Because you're a partner with Hashem and you're part of His bris. And once you get that, you know what you do with it? You take your glass and you say V'yisha Amdel, which means they're trying to kill us. We don't care. I'm untouchable. We're unbreakable. Do you see this? Do you see what's going on over here? Are we putting the pieces together? We're worried about the guy down the block? I'm worried about him watching on the news? They're trying to hurt us. I got the Kadesh Baruch Hu. I'm saying it at night. I'm lifting my glass. V'yisham d'lavosenu. L'cha bilvad. Ve'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu me'adam. This is, and it sounds like a lot, digest it. We'll hopefully be done on time. We'll be done on time, Misham. But I want you to get it, because it's so critical, because you can't miss it, because this is the night that you got to pass it over to somebody. And if that somebody is yourself, it's worth it. This is just the setup. We didn't get to the actual Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim yet. This is why so many things go off the rails. This is a lot of work. And we're not even at the mitzvah yet. We didn't get to the story. Why? Because the Baalei Haggadah are saying, because if you get to the story and you don't think you're part of the story, you miss the story. If you get to the story and you can't raise your glass and go, wait a second, Holy cow, I'm putting the pieces together here. Anya, Manashtana, Abadi Mayinu. I am a product of yesterday, but I believe in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I got to go deeper. The 4 sons. Where have I been all year long? Where have I been all year long? HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked me. I'm not a 16-year-old girl. I'm not a 48-year-old woman. I'm not a 52-year-old guy. I'm not a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse. What's going on with me? Why have I not gotten this? I'm on mission. I'm put in this world by the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I'm sitting at a table because Hashem chose me to be in it. I'm in Yeshua's speech. You can't get to the story if you don't think the story is about you. If you think the story is about Moshe Aaron, you can't get to the story. You lift a cup. I'm not scared. I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared that I don't have enough money. I'm not scared that I don't have enough covet. I'm not scared that I'm out of this part of my life already. I'm not scared that these people have more than me. I'm not scared that some guys have got a kafir on. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. You know why? I have Hashem. I'm on mission. That's the end of part 1. And now, believe it or not, and you're tired listening to this, now we are getting to the actual chiyuv called Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, which means in your Seder, if everyone's on the couch at this point, you're not fulfilling Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, which means get through this quickly if you need to. I don't know, pick one thing to say and then fly. I don't care. You got to get here, but realize why we're setting the whole thing up to get here. And now we're in Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, and Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim has 2 pieces to it, 2 critical pieces, and you have to get into it to understand it. And we're going to pick pieces, but I don't have that much time left. When you get to the story of Yitzias Mitzrayim, if I didn't know better, and I would say to you, okay, you see all the things that we did until now? Awesome. Now we're up to Yitzias Mitzrayim. What would you think would happen? You would say, finally, Shmos, I got it. Tell me where we're starting from. We don't. What do? So what does the Mishnah say? Mar says, where do we start from? Darish ma'arami ovid avi ad sheyigmor kol parsha kula. What is? I saw this first word, Dublin Foreman many years ago. He asked this question. It's Geshmak. What do? You know what we do? We read something called Mikra Bikurim. What's Mikra Bikurim? Hundreds of years later, Jews leave Egypt. They get into the desert. They go into Eretz Yisrael. Till everything works out with David HaMelech, and Shlomo HaMelech, and they build the Beis HaMikdash. Years later, whenever there's Sheva Minim, and the farmer picks the first fruits, and he wraps a little thing around the fruit, and he gathers the fruits, and he brings it to Yerushalayim, and they dance and sing, and he puts them into a basket, and he hands it to the Kohen. It's called Bikurim. There's a mitzvah that people have, the farmers in Eretz Yisrael, during the times of the Beis HaMikdash, when certain fruits, the Sheva Minim, came out, they brought them to the Beis HaMikdash, and at the Beis HaMikdash, they gave the farmer 5 lines to say. Those 5 lines are called Mikra Bikurim. And you know how we teach the story now? We don't go to Shmos. We don't read the story the way Hashem told it. You know what we do? We take the 5 lines that farmer said, and we just say those 5 lines. And through those 5 lines, we darshan out the story of Egypt. How? Why? You know why? Because what are we worried about, potentially? We're worried that the story of Egypt becomes a story. It's not a story, it's a narrative. The farmer has 5 lines, and the lines in the farmer is the perspective of a farmer. Because I'm sitting at a Seder, I'm the farmer. I'm not Moshe, that's for sure. I'm not Miriam, and I'm not Aaron. You know who I am? I'm the farmer. And if you look at the Haggadah, and if I'm begging, look at the Haggadah before you sit down, even if you are not leading the Seder. So when you're at the Seder, it's meaningful to you. If you look at the Haggadah, you will see the Haggadah is basically the 5 lines. And in each of the lines, we take the lines and we tell the story through the lines. Because we're teaching them, it's an arc. What Mikra Bikurim is an arc. Here's how the world works. The farmer at the Beis HaMikdash looks back and goes, oh, that's how the world works. We go to the Haggadah and say, the arc of history is in 5 lines. We're only reading 4 because we're not getting to the Beis HaMikdash yet. What are the 4 lines? The first line is, Arami Ovid Avi. Arami is Lavan. Lavan we worked our father. But Yigid Sham, and we lived there with very few people, and we grew big. Why do we say this for? Because Lavan, the Gemara tells us, Lavan was trying to be Oker es Hakol. Why was Lavan trying to be Oker es Hakol? So the Sfas Emes says he was trying to mix us up through Arvus. Arami is from the word Mirma, because there's two types of exile. Pay attention to Haggadah is saying. There's the exile of Paro, which is just for the Zachar, half. Then there's the exile of Lavan. The exile of Lavan is the exile of assimilation, which is Hakol. I did a little calculations with the help of some new tools, just for a second to understand the gravity of this. From 1885 past the Holocaust, that's a lot of bad stuff that happened to us. That's called Paro. The Jewish people had a growth rate of 0.64%. Not a lot. And a lot of people got knocked off. From 1960 to 2020, which is a period of basically the calmest time we've had, maybe since times of the Beis Hamikdash. 1960 to 2020, our growth rate should have been 3 times. This is called Galus Lavan. Our growth rate, if during power was 0.64, what should our growth should have been when it was calm? 2, 3. We would have 4 times the amount of Jews right now. You know what our growth rate was during that period of time? 0.35, half. Half the Jews, we ended up with less Jews in the last 50, from that period of time, than in the Holocaust. Why? Because we think we're not in a gullus, because nobody's walking down your doors with a swastika? Gullus. Gullus. Arami Ovid Avi, we're in gullus. They're going after our neshamas. Half the people are gone. We had more people born in Paro. We were at 7% growth rate when we started with 70 till we walked out with millions. Because gullus doesn't make sense. We're sitting around our table and we're saying, everybody pay attention. Arami Oved Avi. This is not off. You got to strengthen yourself. But let me tell you something. The way we operate in gullus is not normal. Don't be scared. We started off small and we ascended Lerov. You don't have to run and be like everyone to be able to be successful. You don't have to do that. The first line of this is Hashem telling us, open your eyes, but don't think you go by nature. You start off in Gullus and you end up Gadol V'Rav. And the second line comes in. And we say, V'yiru so hamitzrim v'ya'anunu. And they give us hard work. What does it mean, hard work? So it says, Havin ischach melo penya. You know why they enslaved us in the first place for? Because they said, because you're going to come up and you're going to come against us. What? Why would the Jews go against them? Because it makes no sense. So now they're saying the Jews are crazy? We're like, oh my God, anti-Semitism is irrational? Yeah, it's irrational. It's been irrational from the beginning. It's called anti-Semitism. And they put up on us, masim. They put on us people that were on top of us, both in the good and the bad, whether they're taskmasters or they're people that are working us hard. They gave us pitam and ramses, or things that are futile. When you look at this part of the Haggadah and you look at it, you will see that this is exactly what we're going through right now. Gullus doesn't end. The taskmaster went from being tough, to being maybe like an internet, or maybe a social media app, or maybe my boss, but at the same time that we're building things that are taking us off. And then what do? There's a good thing here we do in our house. I don't know where I got it from. My son-in-law got it from me. He said that, the idea of Vayitzak, where Biederman says, when it says Vayitzak, everybody screams Vayitzak. Try that in your house. When you say Vayitzak, everyone goes Vayitzak, and they scream. It's a good moment to get out all that energy. What happens in the Gullus piece over here? I'm going to go quick. What happens in the Gullus piece at the end? You're in the third line here. This is the story you have to tell over. When you're looking at the Haggadahs, you got to review this. Every line. What's the third thing? Number 1 is we're sitting in Gullus. Number 2 is it gets hard. Number 3 is when it gets hard, what protects us is not some defense force. It's not the ADL. It's not whatever. What protects us is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone else works for Hashem. We got a seat at the top. V'nitzak el Hashem. When things get hard, we turn to Hashem. Kids, when things get hard, we turn to Hashem. You know what Hashem does? He comes running. Because you know what? When you're at a park And the daddy tells the kid, don't climb on the monkey bars, and the kid doesn't listen anyways. And he's like, I told you not to climb on the monkey bars. And the kid doesn't listen, and he climbs on the monkey bars, and he falls, and he screams. Daddy, even if he's upset, comes running. That's how you know who the dad is. You know how you know who the dad is? The person who runs. You're stuck? You're stuck? Banitzak. We always turn to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he sees us. If you look at what it says over here, it's amazing. Precious derech eretz. He sees the dachak. You know what that is? He sees that you're not normal anymore. He sees that you're pressured. That's what parents worry about. Are you pressured? Are you stressed, honey? Are you eating? My mother, are you eating? Are you eating? Are you eating? Are you eating? Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't look down on us and go, wait, why aren't you doing what I told you to do? You sinned. You dipped the thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu goes, you deserve to be in Mitzrayim. You know what the Kadosh Baruch Hu says? I got you. You cried to me. Because that's how Galus works. Number 4, V'yotzi'enu Hashem Mitzrayim. If you go through these psukim, you will see this one theme of this whole piece, which is Hashem says, I'm coming myself. Lo yalidei malach, lo yalidei saraf, lo yalidei shaliach. You know why? Because I'm your dad. This is not the story. This is the narrative. And the last piece, and I can send you, for those of you who want more of this, I'll send you all the details here. All the pieces that we have in this last one is all connected to Hashem saying, I'm coming down. And the last piece is Hashem comes down to save us. The Dever shows that it's the one makkah that went straight in. Even Paro couldn't believe how one animal dies and one animal doesn't. The Dam was the first time that Hashem said, I'm here. Each of these pieces of this thing is all showing us that Hashem comes himself. The story of Mitzrayim is not Shmos. The story of Mitzrayim is an arc. Galus, it looks like we're down, don't fall. It gets hard sometimes. You turn to Hashem, and Hashem saves you. That happens personally and nationally. That's the narrative of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. When you want to deliver the story to your family, you deliver the story to your family this way. I got to understand the story through the prism of these principles. And then you got to downplay it to whoever's in the room. They're kids, they're adults, that's who gets it. And then we go to the second piece, and then we're going to end early, so I'm going to miss a piece of this, which is fine. We'll go to the last piece, which is the story of the Makos. The Makos is a very important piece because that's where the drama is. And we usually go through it very quickly because by this point, everybody is exhausted. And all we're doing is, if you're Ashkenazi, is dipping with your fingers and making cute things. And if you're Sephardi, you're pouring it out and you're chucking it with a glass broken thing on your neighbor's lawn. God forbid. Rav Yehuda knows listen to the Rav Yehuda knows behem simanim. Why would Rav Yehuda give simanim for? So the answer is that Tzach, Adash, Be'achav are not just mnemonics, they're categories. Tzach, Adash, Be'achav. Tzach is Dam Tzfardei Akinim. What took place in Dam Tzfardei Akinim? What took place was Hashem introduced himself to the world. I got this originally from Menachem Leibtag. The Malbim says the first plague is to show I exist. It's a category. Dam. The Khartoum did Dam. Hashem was on their level. Tzfardeya. They did the Tzfardeya, but they couldn't get rid of the Tzfardeya. I'm up. Kinim. Etzba Elokim. I'm here. Adash. Arov. Dever. Shchin is Hashem is in the world. I can split neighborhoods and put the animals through one side, not the next side. I could split characters, horses, and one dies and one doesn't die. And the last group is Ba'achav, Barad, Arbe, and Choshech. There's nobody like me in the world. Never had fire and water. Never had Lokish. If you look at the Psukim, I'll send it to you, you will see they're not, you have to tell the stories as 3 categories. There's a Hashem in the world. He's in the world, and there's nobody like him. You know what the mnemonic is to that? Shema Yisrael, there's a Hashem in the world. Elokeinu, he's here. Echad, there's nobody like him. This is the point of the Seder, where if you have time, this is where you spend your time. In the beginning are the lessons that you have to share. But this is the drama. This is where you have to slow it down and tell the story so people understand what was taking place in Egypt, because what took place in Egypt is what taking them out. We're going to skip a little bit, and we're going to end with the last three. Because there's a cool thing as to why we count four, because it's all going to be based on that, but not for now. The last two pieces, then we'll call it a day. The last two pieces is Dayenu and then the three things. Dayenu is a great one. Why do we do Dayenu for? So if you look at Dayenu, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Ilu nasam lanu es mamonam, v'lo kara lanu es hayam. Had you given us their money and you didn't split the seed, that would have been enough? Really? That would not have been enough. If you split the sea, but you don't make it dry land, that would have been enough? Yeah? Anyone be happy with the split sea and you sink? That would not have been enough. If you look at Dayenu, you will see that most of Dayenu, the answer is no, it wouldn't have been. So why do we say Dayenu for? So Rav Noach has a great Torah on this. Most people are not happy because they do not have a relationship with the little things in their lives. I was once traveling back from Eretz Yisrael, and a friend of mine's son was traveling with me, and he was like a very Halig kid. Very Halig. That guy, wonderful, but very Halig. So we were in the airport in Israel, we flew back home, and we get to the airport, and we come to the security line, which is like a balagan, and it's pretty much open. And he goes, thank you Hashem that I got through security. I'm like, what's going on over here? Then we get to the security line, and then he gets the thing, he goes, Hashem, thank you that they didn't stop me, they didn't pull me off, my yogurts got through, I didn't take off my shoes. Then you get to, in Israel when you leave, you get to the passport thing at the end, and you're like, it's not opening. I know they're going to somehow put me, and then it opens. You're like, that feeling you're like you won something that they opened up for you, that your passport is fine. And he turns around, and as he leaves, he goes, Hashem. Not one, my first time I read the passport. I'm like, dude, you're freaking me out. And then we get to the thing. I tell you, the guy, by the time we got through the security in JFK to the Uber, he must have, I can't even imagine, him and Hashem were like hugging. And then someone's like, hey, how's the flight? I'm like, fine. Uneventful. You know what this is? Maybe the most important part of the Haggadah. If you slow down enough to tell the story well, and you come out the story, you teach your family, you know why it's so hard to be a Kiddush Pesach Jew? You know why we're so good at Yom Kippur and so bad at Pesach for? Because every moment that you got in a car and you ended up getting to your destination and nothing happened, you never looked up and said, oh my gosh. And every day you went to bed at night and nothing happened, you never looked up and said, Hashem, you got to be kidding me. No bad phone calls, Chasdei Hashem. Everyone's okay. Door's locked. Body works. Everything's okay. Oh gosh, I can't. Another Shabbos. Hashem, you're kidding. You're killing me. This is too much. And since we don't have a relationship with Hashem this way, when we talk to Hashem? When there's a crisis. Yom Kippur. Dayenu is not, it'd be enough. Dayenu is, it'd be enough to say thank you. Because that's enough. The truth is, it's enough. Because guess what? It's a gift. And if I can go through my day and 20 times in my day stop and Dayenu up my day, I'm ready. And then we end with the last most important pieces. And I'll say it now, and then you'll translate it to eating it later because of our time constraints. Pesach, matzah, and maror. And then we're done. No more service. We're in our initial descent. Why is it so critical for? Pesach, matzah, and maror. Remember, the matzah you point to, the maror you point to, you don't point to the Pesach. It's not the Pesach. Why is it so important for? Because what does the Pesach represent? Remember something. And these are the most important lessons you have to share with yourself and others. The Jewish people had 9 plagues. They were inspired to the end. And after the 9th plague, Hashem turned to Moshe and said, take the Karban Pesach. What that means in our languages, go find a celebrity, in their world it was the lamb, and kidnap him to your home. Go get the quarterback from the Giants and hide him in the basement. What? I'll be dead by night. Yeah. Do you believe in me? 9 plagues. That's what it was like. 80% of the Jews said, no. I'd like to, but I can't. Because there's belief and there's belief. You cannot be a Jew that fully believes in Hashem if every time it gets a little hard, you're out. Being a Yid, hopefully it'll never be painful. Being a Yid means it's going to require to jump in. That means mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, Bobby and Zaidi went to the marketplace with their hands shaking because they weren't out of slavery yet, and it was the Egyptian God, and they're still living in Egypt, and they walked that little lamb into the house, and for 4 days that thing bat away, and just in case that Egypt didn't realize, took the God, you took the lamb, and you shechted it, and you put it on the doorpost, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, are you still scared? Visha Amda, did you not hear Visha Amda? Didn't you hear the whole Torah on Mascha B'Leilas? What are you scared about? Didn't you go through Arami Avi? Don't be scared. You're a Jew. Don't be like them. Be like you. Pesach. You know when you became a Jew? Not when you came out of the sand dune called Egypt. You know when you became a Jew? When you did that, and you went to your house, and in the middle of the night, everyone was screaming, and you thought you were getting it because you didn't know who was getting it. We know the answer. You didn't know the story. And at that night, when everyone was screaming and crying, and you thought it was coming to hit your house, that noise went louder and it went quieter. And Hashem looked down and said, this one's mine. Hashem went, that one. Not all of you leave together. Judaism is not a communal, everyone go together. Judaism is that family right there. That one. That one's mine, Hashem says. Like you're a little kid growing up and you play punch ball in the schoolyard. I got him, I got him, I got him, I got him, I got him. That's called you became a Jew. That's Pesach. It did not happen when you left. It happened when you were chosen. Yehoshua. Baruch Shomer Haftachto. Remember the setup? It's all setting you up for this moment. Partners. Number one, you're a Jew when you choose yourself to be a Jew. Don't you sit back. Remember the whole Yachatz? You go look for the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Number two, Pesach. You think the Kadosh Baruch Hu can pull off 10 plagues? He can't arrange a late checkout? You got to run out of here? Doesn't he know that we love food? Mommy's got to have the dough issue for the rest of our eternity? Sifsei Chaim says, he set it up like that. You know why? Because if you really wanted to do it, you do it now. Now. The Chacham. The setup. You see it's all set up? You want to be a Jew? There's not an opportunity in front of you right now, kids? Now. Learn now. Now. Matzah means I don't walk to Hashem. I run to Hashem. Moror, the Lubavitcher says, is the difference between atzvus and merirus. Atzvus is, I can't. You're sad. Merirus is, I want it to be better. It's bitter. You know what you do with bitterness? You know what you do with challenge? Because if you're going to play Jewish ball, you're going to be hitting challenge. You know what you do with challenge? You dip it in a little charoises, and you make a bracha on it. It's part of life. It's part of Hashem saying, I got you. You dip it a little bit, not too much. You got it. Don't take it away. It's challenging. Hopefully it's not painful. And you look at it and say, Gamzu l'tova. I make a bracha on my maror. 3 symbols represent the culmination of the Haggadah. If you're thinking through, and I'm begging you, go through the Haggadah yourself afterwards. If you're thinking through the Haggadah and you're getting the values and all the setup works, and you got the 4 stories of the Arami Ovid Avi, the 4 narratives, and you get to the Makos and you realize that Hashem teaching us about himself, you get to these 3 principles of what it means to be a Jew. Choose yourself. It's hard work. Now. And when you face a challenge, that challenge comes to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And then you end the Seder, you end that Maggid with lifting it, and you end the Maggid with that right level of perspective that I'm the luckiest person to be a Jew. One last thing, and we'll call it a night. Matzah is, as the Chachamim call it, Michla de Asavta, which means in Aramaic healing bread. This is really important. I saw this in the Sefer Panini Chassidus today, where it says the only mitzvahs aseh in the Torah that is left for eating, now that there's no kachim and meiser, the only thing left is matzah. Do not kvetch through the matzah. It is so embarrassing for us to turn to the Kadosh Baruch Hu and he asks us to eat b'de'oraisa matzah and we kvetch. This is too much, it's too much. It's so not the moment. If you are sitting at a Seder and you have matzah and maror, eat double. It's up to you. This is not a dinner. This is not a yontif meal. It's a Seder. Take down the yontif food. I'm guaranteeing you, you will pound yontif. Afikomen is part of the mitzvah of achilas matzah. If you come to afikomen full, you may not be yotzei afikomen. When you get to the eating part, do it with simcha. According to the Ma'or V'Shemesh, all the chametz has that arrogance. Matzah is what you put into your system now, which nullifies the impact of chametz for the rest of the year. It heals you. It's like medicine. As you get to this part of the Seder, this is the moment where people have to look at it and go, I get to eat matzah. I get to do this stuff. That simcha changes who you are. When you go through Shulchan Aruch, do it quickly. And when you come back to Afikomen and close strong. And as Rabbi Levi says, you can tell your Seder by the end. And if you have in mind that the goal is that by the time you get to the end of the Seder, people are uplifted, the lessons are clear. And if they're clear in your mind and the story is clear in your mind, it'll be clear. But the most important thing, with this I'll end, this is what Rabbi Levi said, and I'm going to share it. You have to make sure you know what's first is first. First priority in a Seder is little children. 11, 12, 13. They are not in the back of the room. You dumb it down for them. If you have older people, you navigate it. Because you want to get to a place where these lessons and those stories mean something. They're a narrative. You have to digest it now for the next week until you put it into your examples and your stories and your moments so that they can feel like it's coming from you. And when you finish a Seder strong, you end up saying, Lashana haba b'Yerushalayim habenuya, because you realize that you want more than anything else to be connected to Hashem, and when you are, anything and everything is possible. When we approach the Seder like we're approaching Yom Kippur, and we realize that there's so much packed here, and we are given an opportunity to be alive during this era, that we can either experience it if it's not being given to us, or we can give it. We realize that there's nothing more entrusting and empowering than that. And when you go into it with that feeling, and because we live in America, we get 2 shots today, because Hashem knows we need 2 shots. When you sit and you get to a place where you're getting something from it. You're building yourself into a kli. And we should be zoche to be a kli that is so deep that when we come to Pesach Seder, the R that comes into our lives fixes and shines, and we and our families come out we have to come out unbreakable. We have to come out walking through walls because we're Jews and we're Hashem's people and we're not scared and we're proud. And with that, we should be zoche to not only find the geula, but to bring the geula and to see in this year Yerushalayim habenuya. Thank you for sitting through this. Meher Rabbi Amen.